This is Shari on Just My Opinion going live. You noticed that the title of this live is about preps and it's about the wind. And if you have not had your head stuck up the back end of the public vomitorium, you will not know that the wind is howling everywhere. It's howling in Montana, Idaho, definitely Oregon. Heard it's really bad up in Washington. It's terrible here in the upper half of California. And for California, that means the lights are going to get turned off. Someone's going to flip that switch because the wind's going to be blowing the trees. And we know what happened with the power lines in 2018. It's only 2018. God, it feels like forever ago. So while you have the lights on, now is the time to inventory your preps. You can call it your preps, your get backs, your get buys, your SHTF supply. Doesn't matter what you call it, a pile of you know what smells the same. What I want you to focus on before the lights go out is being able to see. A lot of people may or may not have the opportunity to do a run today to a grocery store to get these things. So I want you to go through what you have right now, if you can. Focus your anxiety on looking at what you have in your coffers and deciding how you're going to get by if the lights truly do go out and not in Georgia. First of all, everyone, candles. Make sure you have candles for light. Candles don't give off a lot of lumens, which means I think it has to do with the intensity of light. Candles really aren't very intense unless you have a glass globe to magnify and project that light. I have a lot of tea light candles, mostly because I can get them at the local, you know, buck store. Again, not really interested in promoting companies that aren't paying for their name to be in this live stream. But for $1, you can grab some cheap tea lights. They last about a couple of hours, but the lights are off and it's in the middle of the night. Really, what are you doing up? So, in case you are in California or some other place where they turn the lights off because somebody up in heaven is farting too loudly and the wind is blowing, get yourself some candles. Candles are best used in the home, away from pets, away from children, away from people who have physical stability problems, like they're prone to tripping. You don't want to keep it like on a counter that somebody has to grasp onto to maintain being vertical, who are definitely, what we call a fall risk in the medical field. Keep candles away from curtains, away from anything flammable like butter, Crisco, grease, any kind of fats. Don't put them on the stove. Please don't put them on the stove for many reasons. I prefer when I get them after the holidays for 50 to 75% off the battery candles. A lot of them come with their own batteries. You just pull out the little tabby, flick the switch, and it goes on. I like to keep those around in my kitchen, like 3 or 4 in the kitchen, so I can at least pop a squat in the middle of the night if I have to and not fall on my face and end up dropping a deuce on the floor. Candles, battery operated, better. Tea lights, if you can't get a battery operated candle, and just keep those away from anything flammable. The next thing that you want to make sure that you have and that you are, what would you call it, current on, are your batteries. Make sure that you have an inventory of the batteries that you need for, I don't know, ham radio. Do you have a ham radio? Do you have candles that are battery operated? Do you have flashlights that haven't had the batteries changed in a while? Make sure that you have batteries. And even like I said, you can't get to the store, you don't even have money. You're not getting paid until a couple days from now. And if you're lucky, you're getting paid electronically, which means very unlucky, especially if the lights go out from all of this wind. You're not going to be able to access your money anyway because a lot of places want cash. So, first thing, batteries, preferably battery operated ones if you can get your hands on them. If you don't, make sure you have a lot of tea lights kept away from anything that will start a flame. Animals, inanimate objects, other people. Batteries, you want to know how you're going to basically ration your batteries. If you don't have a lot of batteries and you have a lot of battery needs like flashlights, batteries, ham radio, regular radio, I recommend the wind up ones. They're annoying, but they're great for strengthening your wrists. Take a look at your inventory and see what you have, especially, like I said, if you can't get to the store. So we got batteries, we got the candles. Next, you want flashlights, obviously. Just because you have a flashlight doesn't mean that flashlight is working. They do corrode, they do get old, especially if you haven't spent more than $1 on that flashlight. You want to make sure it is in good working condition. This is something we should all be doing twice a year when we change the batteries, is going through our inventory. But when there is a strong weather condition coming in and out of your area, that is also the time to go through what you have, especially if you cannot get to the store to replenish. What does your water situation look like? And let's just forget about flushing the toilet. Hopefully, you're in an area where you're lucky and the lights go out, but you don't have to go out and shovel snow into the back of the toilet tank. You don't want to have to drain a gallon of drinking water to do that. So take a look at your water situation. Make sure that you have a gallon of water per person per day. I like I've revised this 1 gallon per person per day to 2 gallons per person per day. Have 1 gallon of water for consumables, not only for cooking, but for tea, for powdered drinks. A lot of people on their prepping channels, their survival, whatnot channels, I've talked a lot about the powdered sports drinks. I don't care for them. I'll get the powdered tea. It comes in that giant canister that looks like an oatmeal box. I like that brand a lot more than the sports drinks. If I'm gonna go powdered anything, make sure you have water for hygiene. A lot of people like to say women need it for hygiene more, but I actually think men need it more than we do for a couple of reasons. Make sure you have that second bottle of water set aside for non-food needs. So we've done candles, we've done batteries, we've done water. Food should be an easy one. Most people have food that they can snack on or make a large snack in case the lights go out. Luckily, lights have not gone out here, and wouldn't that be a hoot if they did while I'm on live? That'd be pretty funny because that would remind me that I have not charged my electronic devices, which I'm going to say to you. Plug in your electronic devices. My laptop, it's been plugged in this whole time. It's gonna go a while even if I have to use it to make online calls to people. Telephone, I'm not as reliable for some reason. I will plug my phone in and leave it on a nightstand next to my bed. When I wake up in the morning, my phone is flung to the other side of the bed diagonally from where it was, unplugged, twisted around my ankle. And it always makes me wonder, why can the aliens not put me back in the same position I was? And if nothing else, stop unplugging my phone. Okay? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's always weird. The only way I can keep it from being unplugged in the middle of the night is to plug it into another room. And sometimes even that's suspect. So while I'm talking about it, scurry off, plug in your devices, especially the ones you're going to need to communicate with people if the lights go out. Let's move on to warmth. A lot of prepping SHTF videos will tell you that terracotta pots and Little tea lights will help with a little, like, tiny heater. I've seen different videos that contradict each other saying, "Yeah, this is the great way to warm up your house or stay warm." Others say you will burn your house down. Do not do it. I can't give you advice on it either way. I will tell you that the best way to stay warm in case electricity is the only way to heat your home, and by 2030, by the intelligence of people running California, they want everything to be electric. So when the lights do go out because of the weather, we're all going to be freezing in the dark. Make yourself a micro environment. I'm a big believer of the less air that you live in to stay warm, the quicker you can heat it up. Luckily, I have a four-legged furnace that sleeps with me at night and always seems to find the warmest spots on my body. He's of the opinion, well, she can freeze, but I know where I'm staying to be warm. He curls up into a microenvironment, sometimes under my feet. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why that works for him, but it happens to. So even a cat knows to make a micro environment, thermal environment to stay warm so you won't freeze and you don't wake up your teeth broken off because you've been chattering all night long. Another thing to make sure you have in place if the lights do go out where you live. Pretty much covered everything that I can think of. I would recommend, as a side note, to make sure you have gloves, that you have socks. If you don't have gloves or mittens, put socks on your hands. Learn to knit. Get one of those round knitting looms. You can go on YouTube because obviously you're here now on YouTube watching my video. Go onto YouTube and figure out how to use those looms to make mittens. Very easy to do. It's just time consuming and sometimes neck straining work. I've done it. She probably had a pair that I made, but I put those things away in my storage because I don't use them every day. Even when the lights go out, I just throw on a pair of socks. I have I am big on buying men's socks. Yeah, this is where I feel that men have a big advantage in, like, especially sporting goods stores, camping stores. You can look at the same brand of socks. There's a bin for the men's, a bin for the women, and I'm always buying out of the men's bin, even if it's a little bit more expensive. They're thicker. What's with that? I caught I'm like, "No, no, no, no. No fair." I buy everyone unless people in my family are like, "No, no, we prefer." Normally, I just buy everybody a pair of men's socks for Christmas. They're much warmer, they're thicker, they'll last longer. I guess it's because men tear up their stuff as little boys and they just never grow out of it. Recommend socks, even if you don't have gloves. You can even cut holes if you need your fingers free. You can cut holes at the end of the socks, poke your fingers through. Fingerless gloves, still really good for your hands to stay warm. You want to avoid opening and closing. This isn't good. You want to avoid opening and closing your refrigerator and freezer. What I like to do when I know or I'm worried about the electricity going off is I fill up 1-gallon bags with tap water and I put it in the freezer. And it's just from watching the weather. If I have it, a couple of days advance notice of when this might be happening, I'll freeze bags of water in Ziploc bags. What I do is when the lights do go off is I take those bags and I put them into the refrigerator to keep the refrigerated items cold as long as possible. And if electricity is off long enough, then I migrate food from the refrigerator into the freezer because it's going to be a lot colder. The food stuff in there is going to be colder. And I just make sure to use only what I know I'm going to need to avoid defrosting my food. Now, out in Texas, when that snowstorm hit, got family out there. I have friends out there, former classmates out there, and a lot of them were ingenious. Oh my goodness. They told me stories of taking an ice chest outside and filling it with their food stuff in the refrigerator and covering it with the snow. And I'm thinking, you sneaky little buggers. Okay, that'll work. And it's not where I got the idea of freezing water in Ziploc bags, but it's a variant of what my friends did. Snow, it will cling to your refrigerated items, whereas ice, you're banking on it melting in that cold air, misting like your milk and your soda and your butter. Snow's a lot better, even though it doesn't feel better when you're in the thick of it. So thankfully, my friends out in Texas learned very quickly how to adapt and overcome their situation. Granted, the lights here have only flickered a couple of times, and fingers crossed, thank goodness that we're almost to April and it is a little warmer, but here in the great north of California, it feels like it's never warm unless it's 70 degrees, and then we're all running around half naked in the most legal of manners, wearing the least amount of clothing. For 70 degrees here, that's a heat wave. Everyone else, they're like, oh, still in mittens and hats. It's really just very cold here. And after over 3 decades of living here, I've figured out little tips and tricks and how to live in the environment, just myself instead of forcing the environment to live for me, which is great. That's how people survive. That's how people will, when the batteries run dead, that's how what people were going to do. Luckily, we live in a society that's modern and we don't have to worry about things lasting for a few days, lasting longer than a few days. But if it does happen, remember to have a couple of conveniences tucked back so you don't have to suffer while you're waiting for the lights to come back on. You just kind of a little uncomfortable, but it'll eventually end. You like to comment on this live video? My email is just.my.opinion.podcast2020 at gmail.com. If you like this content and would like to be alerted of even more videos, I go live most of the time. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you know when I am live. Hopefully, I'm not in the middle of your dinner or while you're taking a call from a telemarketer. Don't want to interrupt that. Would like you to join me when I am live because it's like a box of chocolates, I guess it is. You never know what it is I'm going to say. And there's a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to say either. But I try to be within the community standards of the platform when I do. I like doing this. This is a lot of fun, like my audio podcast. I just want to be out there for the people and be help any way I can.